your dreams will come true right away. And we will live together.
And that, of course, was Fantasy by Earth, Wind and Fire. And you can blame ODN for that piece of music. It was his idea. And
Just a suggestion.
it was his idea, and we went with it. This is the kind of shenanigans that happens when the boss isn't in the house. Chief, I'm talking about you, son. Now, SJ,
Yes.
you're also, as it turns out, our resident Dream Team Fantasy Football Supercoach. You're our resident expert in these matters.
Yeah, something like that.
So, I know I pick a team, and I said this to you when I was asking you to come on board, but I pick my team at the start of the year, and that's it. I don't change it. It's 90% Carlton people, and you know, I am the laziest Dream Team, Supercoach person ever. So, how do you do it?
Righto. Well, since this is our first segment, I'll run you through a little bit of the background. Basically, I've been playing since 2006, I think was the first Supercoach season, and before that I took Dream Team a bit less seriously. I really had no idea what I was doing. And then come 2007 was the first year I took Supercoach seriously, when I stumbled onto the Supercoach board on at Bigfooty. And there's actually a lot of method to the madness. And back then, the information that was out on the internet or available to study, if you want to use that word, or just get across, there weren't very many sources at all. There was maybe one website, and Bigfooty was really a great source. So I learnt sort of the tricks of the trade that way. And that year in 2007, I came in top 300. So I play for overall ranking, whereas some other players might play for, to beat their mates in a grand final in the league. So since then, across Bigfooty, we put together a Supercoach Elite group, and that's a sub-forum that we have which sort of tries to lead the way, I guess, a bit from the Bigfooty perspective. And we've got 36 coaches in there, 2 leagues worth, of some hand-chosen great players. And this year I think we've got the league leading in Supercoach. We've got first place in Sportsbet, first place in Centrebet, and coming second in Sportal. So we're doing quite well as a league this year. But basically, the whole concept of the game is you get your best players on the field as quick as possible. And you do that by making money, because that buys you players. And you can only make money by really getting players who are going to appreciate in value, and then trading them down at the best time to another player who will appreciate in value, and using that cash to buy a good player. So that's really the basic concept behind it. Now, it's not as easy as that, because there's injuries affect your season, poor performance, and now there are so many resources out there with tens and tens of blog sites all offering the same sort of cheat sheet type formulas and that sort of thing, that you really almost have to take a punt or take calculated risks to beat everyone else, because groupthink happens and everyone ends up picking the same teams, really. So although it's somewhat easier to be good, everyone's good, so it's hard to sort of stand out amongst the rest. Okay,
so who I assume there's a trade period that's open at the moment?
Yeah, so every week, from week to week, basically from the end of the final game of the round to the start of the next week of the round, in all competitions, Dream Team, Supercoach and the minor ones, you can trade at any time. And generally, you can do up to 2 trades this week.
So who are the big movers? Like, who would the big movers be this week?
Well, I thought I'd concentrate on the defensive line this week, and I've called this little segment the Department of Defence, because the defensive positions have been very interesting this year, and there's been a fair bit of carnage over the past couple of weeks in the back line too. So some popular
I was going to
players...
say, interesting's a interesting word. It's been absolutely chaotic in the back line this year with the amount of injuries.
Yeah, in the back line?
Yeah.
Yeah, who have you lost?
Where to start? Obviously, everybody's got Vlauston and Goods out last week.
Yeah.
At one stage I had Scotland. I had him for an entire week, and then decided that he was no good. as with everybody, had Hartlett, had
Up and
Birchall.
Yeah,
Birchall's gone. I had Charlie Dixon at one stage, so I haven't seen him for months.
Yeah, it's been a big year of transition in the back line. Generally, you've got your sort of 6 or 8 players who you can go to, and you know they're going to pump out your 95s averages or so. But this year, I mean, even in the past couple of weeks, we've lost Birchall, Shannon Hearn's gone down, Paul Duffield's gone down, Beau Waters has been in and out and just down on form. And then, as you said, we've lost Vlosten, Brett Goods, and Thurlow for the Cats, who was a rookie. So, I mean, some people's backlines could be completely wiped. And then in terms of the top players in the backline, and I'll talk from a Supercoach point of view here, you've got Gibbs, Goddard, and Shaw, who basically every team will have, and they're the 3 best by a mile. And after that, we've got new blood, and it might surprise some people to know that Garrick Ibbetson's the 4th best defender in Supercoach this year. He's having a season where he's scoring 31 points per game more than last year. And then players like Robert Murphy, Harry Taylor ran out the top sort of 6 or so, and then the Essendon boys and Hibbert and Heppel are there. And it just means that one of the principles that most super coaches or dream teamers use is go to the proven gun players. So, you know, someone might be scoring well, but if they've only been doing it for two months, then, you know, it's probably a waste of your trade. But if you go to someone who's done it over years and years, you're more certain that you're going to be getting a good player in. So with these transition sort of players, and most of them in the top 10 this year in the back line are now new to that position, it's really throwing a bit of uncertainty, and combined with the injuries you spoke about, it's a difficult position if you've got some injuries back there at the moment.
All right, so who are... I guess I'm not really sure where to go from here because I know nothing about Supercoach.
So basically, at this point of the year, we're 14 rounds down, so I'd say that most people in the Supercoach game would be, from their 30 trades at the start of the year, they'll be down to maybe 6 to 10 trades remaining if they've used their trades correctly. And I sort of liken it a bit to the Sydney to Hobart yacht race, if you know that metaphor. You use a lot of effort and energy selecting your first side before the start, and also a lot of effort and energy in the first sort of half of the season, getting everything together, you know, as the yachts try and get out of their heads. But as soon as they've got their team set, you should be really putting the spinnaker up and letting your team do the work. So hopefully by now, with 6 to 10 trades up your sleeve, you might have maybe 22 good players on the field and a few backups on the bench. And then with those backup trades, you just replace the injured players as they come, and not bother too much about bringing new players in or sideways trading, because that's really a waste of your trade. So, it's sort of a management issue now if you set your team up correctly.
Yep. Griff, you were saying something?
I was just going to say there seems to be I think a lot of people will be doing their final upgrades this week.
Yeah.
What do you think about the rookie options in? You got Melbourne's Clisby in the back line, and you've got Essendon's Danaher if he's named in the forward line. Do you think they're worth chasing as reserve bench players, or do you think there are better options out there?
Yeah, I mean, one of the issues here is, of course, that there aren't many options come this time of the year, because generally, if you're a good youngster, you're probably debuted by now. So you're right; it's a pretty scarce market for rookies. I would go Clisby. I think he's the cheapest possible price at 96,000. He's now playing under a new coach. He's got 2 games under the new coach straight away. He's a mature age player. I think he's 23, and he's averaging 66 points a game. So you can trade him down a Boston or a Brett Goods, who might be about 400,000, pocket 300,000, get a player on your bench who hopefully you don't have to use, and he'll sit there for the rest of the year, and then use that 300,000 to go elsewhere. Joe Danaher, look, let's just wait and see if he gets named. He may not get named this week. He may not get named for the rest of the year. So I'd put him second. And the other option, of course, is maybe throwing a Staker, who's got the defensive forward characteristics, back to the back line, and then bringing Joe Danaher in the forward line, if that helps you in your back line.
All right, ODN, you've been pretty quiet during this Dream Team discussion. What are you thinking, Matt?
As far as this goes, I'm thinking nothing at all, mate. I've never participated. I'm bad enough just getting football tips in, let alone let alone coming up with a team and a strategy for something like this. But more power to you.
I have the same problem. So assuming we're all new here, and this is very late in the season to be doing this kind of thing, I know, but what do you think of the Supercoach show in terms of its advice, in terms of its overall programming? I mean, do you watch it
on Fox Footy?
Yeah.
I think it's very ordinary.
Yeah.
I don't watch it. Basically, it's 3 ex-footballers and a couple of journalists who have some idea about the Herald Sun and some idea about how to play, talking a lot of rubbish. But, it depends what you're in it for. A lot of people are in it just to play with their mates and make a couple of trades and have bragging rights on a Monday morning. So, if you're in it for that, good on you. But I think for the serious player out there, and you would be surprised how many serious players are out there, I would say there'd be 10 to 20,000 now, just going on the quality of players in the top 10 or 20,000 teams each year. There are a number of sort of blog sites along with, the Bigfooty boards that tell you everything you need to know, and just using your brain a little bit more than copying what, Brad Johnson says on the Supercoach show probably will get you a little bit further. But yeah, for some light entertainment, it fits the purpose.
So I guess what we're not trying to do here is we're not trying to say pick this, pick this, pick this. This is more of just a guide as to what can be done, what other people are doing. No one here is a greater expert than anyone else really. It's just that we're lucky to have here the man who won Supercoach in 2009.
I came 12.
Came 12. Sorry,
but got very close. But in my leagues, in the Supercoach Elite League on Big Footy, there are, I think, 3 past winners. So we've got them covered. It's amazing the difference that even one season can have. So they might come first one season, and then if something doesn't go your way, the next season you might come in the top, say, 20,000. But then there are other players who are just up there every year, top 100, and I'm not quite as consistent as that, but I like to think that if you go by the process and make every trade sort of a real a value add sort of exercise to your team, then you're going to end up quite high up the rankings. And currently I'm in 1900th, I think, so I'm sort of going okay and trying to just crack that top 1,000 this year.
I
was just going to quickly chime in, Wookie. It's worth people at home listening in or in their car or wherever they are. It's definitely worth them signing up and having a go, because there is a weekly prize if you can somehow manage to luck out and get the players who happen to hit form all in 1 week. And it gives you an idea of, if you want to play next season, you do actually have that option of a little bit of a season in which you've played with the trading system and that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned blog sites and websites and various other things earlier. If you're looking for advice, I mean, if you're looking for advice on Supercoach, where should you go?
Probably the Big Footy Dream Team and Supercoach boards. Yep. Just because I know Chief will be listening to this podcast later.
You'll be getting the double thumbs up.
But apart from that, I'll say good day to one particular blog site, because they're sort of the granddaddy of the industry, and that's dreamteamtalk.com, and you've probably heard of them or come across them or something. And there's these 3 or 4 blokes, I think, from Tassie. They kicked off a site about 5 or 6 years ago, and now they write articles for the Dream Team website, and they do a good job promoting the game. So there are a lot of copycats out there, and some of them are just as good, but they were the people that sort of really kicked off, I guess, the taking it seriously aspect. And I remember when I was first Googling how to play properly or trying to figure out what to do, that was the one website I found, and now they're sort of the most popular out there.
All right. Well, thanks very much for that, SJ and Griff, for your input there, and ODN for sitting there quietly and not really saying much at all.
No problem.
I was completely lost during most of it as well. Again, like I said in the intro, know nothing about Supercoach. It's not something I've really been able to commit my spare time to, and I have a lot of spare time. It's just I lack the concentration for it. But thank you very much, SJ, for your input into that. And it's worth noting that this particular segment will most likely come out as a Big Footy Podcast Extra segment this week, so it'll be separate to the main podcast. and with a view to perhaps turning this into a more regular thing as time permits. But most informative, thank you very much for coming in.
No problems.